Shabbat Shalom and Good Shabbos. Phrases we use a lot but don't really think about. Shabbat Shalom. Have a peaceful Sabbath. A Sabbath of tranquility, of wholeness. Good Shabbos. We should have a good Shabbat, surrounded by good friends, good food, good conversation. And yet, as a result of the spreading pandemic of COVID-19 coronavirus, so much has been and will continue to be for some time cancelled. Sports events, concerts, plays, worship services, rallies, travel, meetings, classes, family gatherings, and so much more. We need Shabbat more than ever. David Haas, an American author and composer of contemporary Catholic liturgical music, reminds us that love has not been cancelled. Mercy has not been cancelled. Prayer has not been cancelled. Attentiveness has not been cancelled. Goodness has not been cancelled. Thanksgiving has not been cancelled. Loving relationships have not been cancelled. Kindness has not been cancelled. Music has not been cancelled. Conversations have not been cancelled. Learning has not been cancelled. Poetry and storytelling have not been cancelled. Courage has not been cancelled. Meditation and contemplation have not been cancelled. Painting and dancing have not been cancelled. Families have not been cancelled. Community and solidarity have not been cancelled. Faith has not been cancelled. Hope has not been cancelled. And God's presence with us has not been cancelled. Our Torah reading for this week reminds us of the beauty of Shabbat as a time for rest and relaxation, contemplation and meditation, family and me time. Shabbat is a time when we can slow our pace of life down and enjoy the little things in life, like those pointed out in David Haas's poem. In our Torah portion, we read, "On 6 days work may be done, but on the 7th day you shall have a Shabbat of complete rest. Holy to the Lord, whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire throughout your settlements on the Sabbath day." Rabbi Michael Roscoe notes that in connection with the Talmud tractate Chagiga, that a person has a place reserved for him in either heaven or hell, depending on which he will qualify for. The author of our verse develops the thought that failure to devote the Shabbat to one's spiritual advancement, even if one does not violate any of its injunctions, is a major affront to the holiness bestowed upon us by God on that day. In the author's view, one who violates any of the injunctions of the Sabbath unintentionally, though technically performing forbidden chores, is less guilty than one who does not violate a single injunction, but eats and drinks in order to indulge his body, reads material which has not been written for one's spiritual elevation, and generally reduces the Sabbath's sanctity by observing it as a day to indulge. Rabbi Roscoe further notes that the Sabbath is a day of rest, on which people have leisure to discuss communal affairs, to talk about their rabbis, cantors, ritual slaughterers and sextons, and to offer comments on the way their institutions, such as the Hebrew school and the mikveh, are run. And this is the reason why we are admonished explicitly, "You shall kindle no fire throughout your settlements on the Sabbath day." Not to be taken literally, but figuratively. Do not mar your Sabbath rest by kindling fires of evil gossip and contention. This is not the purpose for which the Sabbath was given to us. Shabbat is not only a day of rest, but also a day of moral sanctity. Finally, the rule applies figuratively as well. Do not add fire to your talk on the Sabbath by adding to dissent, gossip, and negative criticism. Rabbi Eliyahu Lopian wrote in a list of regulations for his yeshiva that everyone should be careful not to speak angrily on Friday and Shabbat. He added that ideally a person should never feel angry. Someone who nonetheless feels angry should at least not speak out of anger. on Friday in the rush to finish the Shabbat preparations on time, a person is apt to become short-tempered. Also on Shabbat, when the entire family sits at the table together, parents might become angry with their young children for not behaving properly. And therefore, he says, special care should be taken to control one's anger. Rabbis Nachman ben Simcha of Bratslav and Natan ben Naphtali Hertz Steinhartz, also of Bratslav, wrote the Book of the Source of Joy, which includes a chapter about joy on Shabbat. It opens, one must be very careful to be joyous and in a good mood on Shabbat. It continues that we slave away during the week, but to be free we must enjoy God on Shabbat. The general principle is that we must behave with great joy on the Holy Shabbat, without showing any sadness or worry at all, only to take pleasure in God and to increase the pleasures of Shabbat with all manners of pleasure, such as eating, drinking, and dressing as one is able. For eating on Shabbat is entirely spiritual and holy, and we rise to a completely different place from profane eating. Later they write, for the entire essence of the commandment and its fulfillment is by means of joy, and the essence of joy continues from Shabbat to the 6 weekdays. And we must not carry over the sadness of the weekdays into Shabbat. In the midst of this pandemic, let us find time to renew our spiritual connections with ourselves, our families and friends, and with God. Let us use our Shabbat time to remember what has not been cancelled, rather than what has. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos.